Okay, so part two of this video on adding integers, aka signed numbers. Um, we've got a problem here that's negative 14 plus 22. So this is different from the first two problems we did, where our signs are different. You've got a negative sign here and you've got a positive sign here, all right? When you have something that's just plus and there's no sign, think of it as a positive. So you have negative 14 and you have positive 22. So if you were in my classroom and you really didn't understand what to do with these, what I would do is I would say, okay, I want you to take this pile of integer chips, and I would give you a pile of integer chips, and I would say, all right, so I want you to make 22 yellow chips. And the reason we use yellow is because yellow is what we use when we want to show that something is positive, right? And so you would do this, and we got 12, and then we got another 10 here, and we've got that. And then I would say, okay, and then we're going to use the other side of the chip, which is red, and we're going to show 14 here. We're going to go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you would do that, and you would realize in a hurry that, wow, that kind of takes forever, and it does, but it's a really good visual because it kind of shows you something. It shows you that basically these are just numbers, and they're opposite numbers. And what you get, and the whole point of doing this is you think of one red and one yellow as an opposite pair. Think of it as if you have negative 1, right, which is 1 red, and you have positive 1, which is 1 yellow. If you combine them, you are going to get the number 0. All right, so sorry, I should probably be filling these in because these look like zeros. But you get the idea. So you would get the number 0. All right, so for each pair of red and yellow you get a 0 sum. So what you can do with this is you can go through this, and I would actually have you move these with your fingers, put them together, and then put them off to the side, meaning that they are no longer needed. So I would go through this, and I would say, okay, here's my first pair, here's my second pair, third pair, fourth pair, fifth pair, sixth pair. You getting the idea here? All right. And you would go through this one by one until you finished up, and then you would be left. Oh, I missed one over here. So you got 1 over here because I did that stupid, and then you've got 7 over here. So you left with basically 7 or 8 yellows that you cannot make any more 0 pairs with because we ran out of reds. All right, so I hope, and then I would say, okay, well, seeing as yellow is positive, that means that your answer is how many positives you have, and you would go, okay, well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you would say, oh, my answer is 8. Okay, positive 8. Now, I hope that at the point you're at with this, that you're able to look at this and say, well, I know that I have more yellows than reds. And isn't there a faster way for me to see how many more yellows than reds there are? And if you just think of these as, instead of positive or negative, just think of this as this is 22 of something of one kind and 14 of a different kind, and just find the difference between them. Because that's what it is. You're finding the difference between them. And the difference is 8, right? 22 minus 14 is 8. And when you do 22 minus 14, that's, I think we all agree that's 8. And then you would notice that the sign that you have for this is always going to be the sign of the one that you have more of. In this case, you have more positives than negatives because you have negative 14 and you have positive 22. So you have more positives. And that's really the trick to doing this. It really is. The trick to doing this is recognizing that I'm going to have a subtraction problem one way or the other, and the way I set it up depends on which one I have more of. And so I'll show you with another example how that works, all right? And we're not going to do that crazy thing with all the chips this time. So you have negative 36 and then we have positive 19. All right, so that means I would have, and I'm just going to write it down, I would have 36 reds, and then I would have 19 yellows. So how many more red chips and yellow chips do I have? Well, you would say, okay, I have 36 minus 19. You would do that problem, and you would, if you were being smarter than I am right now, which I don't think is very hard, you would say, I have 17. I have 17 more red than yellow. Okay, I have 17 left over when I take away the 0 pairs that you make with the 19 yellows, and you take 19 reds along with those. You have 17 reds left. And red signifies negative, right? So that would mean your answer is negative 17. And so rather than having to go through this every single time, the easy way to do this, and this is the ninja way, all right, is if your signs are different, all right? So if you have a positive and a negative sign, all you got to do is you say, okay, I'm going to rewrite this out. You have negative 36 plus 19. You say, okay, I'm going to do the larger number on top. I'm going to subtract the smaller number from it. Just ignore the signs right now. Don't worry about those, okay? Just, we know what they are, but just do this, 36 minus 19, then you'll get your 17. And then what you do is you look at these and you compare which one has the larger absolute value. In other words, which one is a bigger number if you don't look at the sign? Well, if you don't look at the sign, so that's going to give you, sorry, I'm trying to change colors here. That gives you 36, and we're now looking at the signs, and 19. Right? 36 is clearly bigger. Now, what sign does the bigger one have? Because that's the one we're going to have the chips left over. It has a negative. And so therefore, that's how we know we're going to have a negative 17 as our answer. Okay, so I hope this conceptually helps you a little bit with understanding that. It really does amount to that. If the signs are the same, you're going to have an addition problem and you're going to keep the common sign. If the signs are different, you're going to do a subtraction problem. You're going to subtract the smaller looking number from the larger looking number, and then you keep the sign of the larger number. So if the larger number happens to be negative, your answer is going to be negative because there's no way it can't be negative. If your larger number happens to be positive, your whole answer is going to be positive. So it's just kind of making number sense through this, all right? So good luck with these.